Issue 16. Shall the Northwest Local School District, counties of Hamilton and Butler, Ohio, be authorized to do the following? 1. Issue bonds for the purpose of new construction, improvements, renovations, and additions to school facilities, and providing equipment, furnishings, and site improvements therefore, in the principal amount of $76 million to be repaid annually over the maximum period of 35 years, and levy a property tax outside the 10 mil limitation, estimated by the county auditor to average over the bond repayment period 2 82/100 mils for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 28 2/10 cents for each $100 of tax valuation commencing in 2015, first due in calendar year 2016, to pay the annual debt charges on the bonds and to pay debt charges on any notes issued in anticipation of those bonds. 2. Levy an additional property tax to pay current operating expenses at a rate not exceeding 1 mil for each $1 valuation, which amounts to 10 cents for each $100 of tax valuation for a continuing period of time commencing in 2015, first due in calendar year 2016.
And good evening. I'd like to welcome you to yet another Waycross Election Forum. This for Issue 16, Northwest Local School District. I'm Jason Grisgoric, Waycross Community Media's Government Access Coordinator, as well as your host, joined with Jenny Key from the Community Press. We are here to ask and answer all questions this evening with our guest this evening, Mr. Todd Bolin from Northwest Local School District. Glad that you joined us.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Great. In a minute, we will be asking Mr. Bolling to offer us a 2-minute opening statement. From there, we will open up the phone lines and email to you, the voting audience at home. Once that is complete, all questions will be answered here tonight. So if you are watching on October 5th, please join us. Mr. Bolling, 2 minutes to you, please.
Thank you. I welcome the opportunity to talk about the Northwest Local School District and the importance of the bond issue operating levy that we will ask voters to approve on November 3rd, issue 16. It is very important to our district. We are replacing an emergency levy that had the value of 4.52. I know millage can sometimes be difficult to understand. A mill in our district raises about $1.2 million. So the emergency levy that we are replacing, the 4.52, actually brings the district about $6 million and a little bit more each year. So if the levy does not pass, that's $6 million we will no longer have. We are replacing this 4.52 mil levy with a 2.82 bond issue and a 1.0 operating levy. What that will do is make major renovations in our district that are much needed, build 3 new elementary schools, and help us get where we need our buildings to be in order to be efficient, able to give the kids our education they deserve, and get our district where it needs to be.
Excellent. Well, with that, it is now time for you to join us at home. If you're watching this evening, please join us, 825-3971. That's our phone number. Live at waycross.org is the email. All questions will be answered this evening. A few rules of the road if you are joining us. If you are calling in or emailing, we do require that you give us your name and part of town, as well as the question you are asking, especially if you're calling in. That's most important to us. So with that, I'll start with the infamous proverbial question. If you are the owner of a $100,000 home, how much will this cost a Northwest Local School District member in their taxes?
Yes, it would not be a school levy if we did not talk about the cost for a $100,000 home. Very important question because we need our taxpayers to understand what's going on. If the levy does pass, like I said, we went from a 4.52 emergency levy and we have reduced it to a 3.82. We can guarantee by passing this levy, every taxpayer taxes will be lowered. Now on a $100,000 home, it will be $4. On a $150,000 home, it will be $7 to $9. So you will have lower taxes and in the process get new schools and much needed renovations for some of our older buildings.
And of course, this is a dual levy that we're going up against. We're looking at the renovations on one side, and then could you explain the secondary part of the levy so that others can understand? Because it's the bond issues as well.
Yes, and as you said, Jason, which is a great point, we are building new schools, but what's happening to the other section? So if you look at our secondary school, we have spent a lot of our permanent improvement, our summer permanent improvement funds the last 2 years at Northwest High School and Colerain High School renovating the auditoriums. It was important to us to renovate the auditoriums. They get rented a lot by the public, by parochial schools, by public parents, by dance groups. And so we needed something that we thought was fitting to match the talent of our teams that we have in our 2 high schools, whether it's our band, it's our jazz concert band, our show choirs at each school. We needed something that reflected their ability. So we got new lighting, new sound systems that are state of the art. We redid all the flooring, all the acoustical sounds, and we also put in new seating. What we now need throughout the rest of the secondary buildings is we need new electrical systems. I was the past principal at Northwest High School. To have something as simple as a pancake breakfast and plug up 4 or 5 griddles, we would blow fuses in the hallway. We need to update our electrical systems so we can have functions and make all the new technology that we've put in each of the building functional. We can't have computers going out because of fuses blowing. We are requiring more electric through the building, so we need to make the upgrades in order for that to happen. The other thing is these buildings get older, we need plumbing. Plumbing is very important. Pipes break, sewer issues, that's very important. And then lastly, we need roofs for these buildings. The roofs can only last so long. We now know that if this does not pass, we have immediately about $9 million to $18 million in roofing that must be done. We can't have schools where buckets are in the hallway catching water and so on and so forth. But at the secondary level, think warm, safe, and dry. Think roofing, plumbing, electrical, and then HVAC systems that are getting old and need to be replaced. So that's basically what's happening there.
Jenny?
Talk a little bit about what's going on in the elementary school buildings. We're going to, if this passes, the district plans to build some new schools. We also have some renovations. And those 2 things are going to mean that your schools are going to be configured differently than they are currently and allow you to provide some different programming.
Yes, this is a very loaded question, so I'll take a little bit of time on this one. If the bond levy does pass, we would build 3 new buildings. One would be a combination of Weigel and Struble. One would be a combination of Taylor kids and Pleasant Run Elementary kids. And then the third would be Welch Elementary and Pleasant Run Elementary kids. So that leaves Montford Heights, and that leaves Colerain L, who were not getting new buildings. If you go back to May, the original bond, we asked for $85 million. The community spoke loudly and at public meetings, especially our board meetings, and said, what about the general fund? Well, we have done such a good job. It's been painful, but we've made so many cuts over the past 10 to 12 years. We were able to lower the amount to $75 million, and then we are doing $10 million out of the general fund. So we did lower it from May. We listened to the public, we listened at board meetings, and we cut that back. We added $1 more million to make it $86 million so that Colerain Elementary would be air conditioned. So now we have Montford Heights and Colerain L, and the 3 new buildings will all be air conditioned. Well, people say, why is that important? When I went to school, we didn't have air, we were fine. Times have changed. Kids have asthma, they have medical issues that require these things. The one thing that's irritating to me is I want to be on the same playing level with all the other school districts. If you looked around Hamilton County, Butler County, and Warren County, they all started school the 1st or 2nd week of August, and they can do that because they have air-conditioned buildings. We do not. So we started August 24th, 25th, bringing our staff in. So building new buildings, we could gain 8 to 12 instructional days. And, you know, it's not just what do you do on the OGT test or the OA. We're talking about our AP kids, our honors kids. They're better prepared for their tests. And remember, AP kids are taking tests to get college credit. So if you can give 8 to 12 additional instructional days, that's huge. So we need to be on the same playing surface there. Montford Heights doesn't need a lot. It's hard to believe Montford Heights is already 15 years old. But we've refinanced it. We've saved taxpayers $1.9 million. They won't have to pay back by refinancing that. Huge article in the Cincinnati Enquirer last Sunday. And the building's being maintained well. And that's part of the problem I have. I know our maintenance department and our custodians work very hard on our buildings, but you know, it's time to build new buildings and it's time to renovate others.
Just to follow up on
Please.
that, if you make your buildings larger, is that going to enable you to do something different in the kindergarten level?
Yes. First of all, going back to your original question, like I said, it was a very long question, and
I had
probably
a lot
didn't
in
answer
there.
it. So I apologize. Good thing I'm not running for president. We will go back to K-5 configurations, first of all. We heard from our parents they didn't like K through 2 at one school and then 3 to 5 at the other. It caused some transportation problems and going from one school to the other, so we're going back to K-5. One of the biggest bonuses, like not only do we miss those 8 to 12 instructional days, but we will offer all-day kindergarten at all of our buildings. Our little ones, we want them in school. We get our hands on them now for 3 hours. Now we can have them for a full day. We can really make a difference. They can go into first grade reading at a much higher level. This will be huge for us. And just to remind parents, it also helps with you don't have to figure out a half day of daycare. So that's important also. But with the renovations to Cole-Raynell, putting in air conditioning with the 3 new buildings, offer all-day kindergarten, go back to K through 5 configurations, start school earlier, get more time under our belt before they have to be assessed, and then all-day kindergarten speaks for itself.
For those that are new to the district or may not remember what has gone in the past, there were some early configurations on how the buildings were going to be configured and things of that nature. Has any of that changed from the original plan to today's plan? And if so, can you kind of bring everybody up to speed on that?
Yeah, we started a master facility plan about 2 years ago, and that consisted of parents, community members, administrators, and central office personnel. We broke off into 2 groups. One was the financial aspect, and then the other was what would the master facility plan look like. Some discussed going to one high school. That got voted down pretty quickly. You have double the opportunities by staying at 2 high schools. So why not work and do things that give kids more opportunities to participate? You go from having 22 starters to having 44 if you're talking football or other sports. You have a show cards, you have the night lights, so now you've got 60 kids getting the ability. And you know, our kids are fighting to get in college, so GPA is one thing, but then when they look at your college or your high school resume, they want to see what else you have on there. What leaderships thing did you do? So if both of you walk into a college with a 25 on your ACT, that's what they go to. So we kept that separate. The big thing that came out was going back K through 5. They didn't like the transition of being at one school for 2 or 3 years and then switching. And plus, families had multiple sons and daughters, so they wanted everybody in one location. So when we looked at that, the best way to go back was to also make sure that kids are in their home school. So what I mean by that is we have some Colerain kids that belong in other schools, so they will go back to their home school. So if this passes and we build new schools, Cole-Raynell's attendance will go down slightly. And that's going to increase some also because of all-day kindergarten. But we have a few Cole-Raynell kids at Taylor. We have a few other kids at Cole-Raynell. Everybody can go back to their home school. So you go back to your true community school. When we looked at the feeders, it made only sense for Struble and Weigel to combine. They both feed to the 2 middle schools that lead to Colerain High School. And then the other side of the district, it allowed Pleasant Run and Taylor to be a northwest feeder, and it allowed Welch and Pleasant Run to be a northwest feeder. So they go to one middle school and then they go to the high school. So that part we kept exactly the same, with the change being if we can build the new buildings, we can go to all-day kindergarten. In May, we weren't for sure that could happen. We are now for sure that will happen.
Can you talk a little bit about Colerain Elementary School? I'm sure that it's surprising to a lot of people that one of the oldest buildings in the district isn't being replaced. And I'm sure that there were reasons in the facility plan to keep it, so I'll give you a chance to explain some of them.
Yep, great question. What happened with the whole process of looking at who gets renovated, who gets built new, is the architects came in and checked out every facet of the building. Now, the rumor out there was Colerain Middle and Cole-Raynell are part of the community. They're like historic buildings, and people would tell me at meetings, what are you talking about? They're the oldest buildings we have. Well, when our architects did the research, checked foundations, checked structure, these buildings were built a lot more efficient, better foundations, better quality. If you look at Taylor, PRE, and Struble, they were built at a time when the district was growing leaps and bounds, so they were not put up as well, not built as well. And so it comes down to, what did it cost to renovate the building versus what does it cost to build a new one? Well, if you looked at Taylor, Struble, PRE, Weigel, and Welch, they had the highest percentage, 85% and higher. So in other words, you could renovate PRE for $20 million, or you could build a new school for 21. Same thing with Taylor, same thing with Struble, same thing with Weigel. Welch was a little different. It would take about $17 million to renovate, but $21 million to build a new. So those were the top 5. Cole-Rainell was really close. They were at 69, 70%. They just weren't as close as these. The other thing is the Board of Education did not want to build all new schools at once because they don't want to leave the next board down the road with all of these new buildings that will need the repairs probably about the same time. So they decided to go with 3 new buildings, renovate the rest. So it was important for us to know that Cole-Rainell and Cole-Rain Middle could be renovated and be renovated efficiently, and those plans are put in place. But we also know that down the road, Montford Heights will be paid off in 7 years, and we will then revisit Cole-Rainell and Cole-Rain Middle and see what the possibilities are there for a new school K-8 building. That will be all led by the board. But again, I think the board made a great decision by building the 3 at one time and then not building all new at one time so they all don't start to go down. You spread out the bond. Our treasurer of the past and our new treasurer have done a great job with the refinancing aspect. So we've seen the ability to save money as we go, and now we're able to pay the bond off earlier.
Were this to pass, what is the timetable for these new constructions?
If it passes, we would be in the buildings August 2018. The funding for passing it this year doesn't come to us till next year, but the first thing that would occur is we would start forming committees in the neighborhoods, in the schools, make sure we get the design of the building we can. It is something that we have tried our best to think about where we're building the buildings. Part of the reason of the sites we chose was because you can conduct school on these sites plus have the construction go on while that's happening. So the new site for Struble and Weigel is at Struble, the new site for Taylor and PRE is at Taylor, and then the PRE and Welch is at PRE. So school can go on at these 2 places, yet construction can occur also. So we don't have to ship kids out and lose school time or move kids out of their home school. So that was the other big thing.
I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit. I can understand how some voters will be going, okay, now you had a 4 whatever mil levy before that was generating close to $6 million.
Yes.
And it was operational.
Yes.
Now you are going to say that you need 1 mil for operations, so that's a $5 million difference. What are you going to do differently that you're not going to be getting that $5 million to pay for?
Well, first of all, we won't have to make all the needed repairs immediately. That's the biggest thing. Like I said, we've got anywhere from $9 to $15 to $18 million in roof repairs that must be done if this doesn't pass. So on one hand, you could look at it, well, they don't need to build new schools. They need to just fix the roofs and fix everything else. Well, eventually we're going to have to build new schools. So if we're going to put $4 million and $5 million into a roof project for 2 or 3 buildings and then in 5 years tear them down, it doesn't make sense. So what we can do is we can save permanent improvement funds that we spend every year by getting the schools basically just to keep together. It's kind of like taking little bits and spending money here to help this and spending money here to help with the roofing, then the electric, but you're never solving the entire problem. And then when you look at technology and how it's affecting instruction and how important it is, even now since all our testing is online, we have to have the electric stability in each building. We have to have the technology in each building we need. And we will save money by not having to continually repair the same issues that keep popping up.
So what if it fails?
If it fails, we'll have to go back to the board with suggestions. We'll have to go to the community and see why it failed. We went to the last time in May, and what we got there is we didn't get enough out on it. I think we relied on social media a little too much. And this time we've changed our whole plan of action. And I can go over some of those eventually. But if it does fail, that's $6 million a year we're losing. And if it has to go to May and it fails again in May, if the board decides to go there, then we've lost $12 million over 2 years. And I think everybody knows what will happen there. Cuts will have to be made, some serious cuts. So it is very important to our community and to our schools, and most importantly, our students, that we get this passed.
We do have an email question. I'll be
Yes.
taking care of that. This is from Matt from the district. He states, after this levy, when is the next school levy due to expire that will need a renewal or some type of replacement?
There is an emergency levy that is due to expire in 2017. The board at that time could look to keep it the same or reduce it, which is what they will do. But that one would be no increase in taxes. It would just be a renewal of something that's already there. And then after that, there's nothing till, I believe, 2020.
Of course, as we're getting down to the bottom, now we have to look at the other side of the coin. Unfortunately, if something were to happen and this does not pass in November, where does the board go from here?
As I stated, we're going to have to revisit everything. We're going to have to go back and see exactly and talk to the public, what didn't you like about this? This was one time in your life you could build 3 new schools, renovate everything in it, and lower your taxes. This opportunity will never come again. So what do you want to do now? What do you want us to do? If you're telling us you don't want to build new buildings, then tell me where I'm making the cuts. Are we making them in teachers? Are we making them in classified staff? Where are the cuts coming from? Because you can't just dismiss $6 million. It will affect the entire community.
With the last few years, with everything going on, you've made some tight changes within the district. Do you feel that these changes could hurt even more than what we've seen?
You know, we made a lot of cuts about 6 to 8 years ago. I mean, as the high school principal of Northwest High School, I kept 25 staff in 4 years. So that was pretty traumatic. We moved from the block schedule, went to a regular bell schedule. The middle schools made cuts. The elementaries made cuts. And these cuts hurt us pretty bad. If you look at our academics, it did affect our academics. Class sizes went up. We had to limit transportation to an extent. Pay to play went up. The good thing is from making those cuts, the board has now lowered pay to play down to $100. So we've done things that have made us more efficient and save funds and be accountable. We want to be transparent to the public. And you can see the cuts we've made have been pretty significant. So we've put us in a good place where we could take $10 million from the general fund and put it to this bond issue. So we will evaluate where we are, what cuts need to be made, and we'll go from there.
Looks like we have a little time for one other question. Jenny, do you have that question for us?
Yeah. What would you say to people who just say the district wastes money and they can find this somewhere? They don't. My taxes are too high.
You know, if you think the district wastes money, you can go to our website, first of all, nwlsd.org, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see all of our finances are now online. We were the first district in the state of Ohio to be transparent. We now have 30 to 40 other districts that are doing the same. But Dan Unger and Amy Wells have worked really hard, especially Amy, to get all of our records and our expenditures online so that anybody who lives in our community can go to this webpage and they can see everything we've spent, what we've spent it on, who we've paid it out to, and what we've done with our money. That's the easiest way to do that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity, as Jenny has said, seal the deal here. Let's 30 seconds here to basically plead your case.
This is about our community. I think we have an awesome school district. We are one of the few school districts that has a wide variety of parochial schools to choose from and public schools. And you know, we as Northwest Local School District, we get some kids who go K through 8 parochial, then come to us from high school. Vice versa, we get some who go from us K through 8, and then they go to LaSalle High School or other parochial schools. But this is about our community. This is about what's doing best for kids. This is about increasing our property value. This is about working together and putting pride back into our community. Our kids deserve good schools. We need to increase our property values. We want young families to move in here, and by building new schools, we can get this accomplished.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us as well. If you've been joining us, this has been Issue 16 for the Northwest Local School District. Please take the information that we've given you, as well as going to votehamiltoncounty.org so that you can get all the latest information in regards to the November 3rd election. Remember, polls do open at 6:30 on the 3rd, so get there early and vote. Again, my name is Jason Grzgorek, Waycross Community Media's Government Access Coordinator, joined with Jenny Key, giving you the opportunity to learn the things that affect you here in your district. Thank you and have a great evening.
Waycross takes no position on candidates or issues. We We provide these forums so that our viewers may be better informed voters for the November 3rd election.